ત્યારે જ આપણી સાથે ચર્ચામાં exam.com ઓસ્ટ્રેલિયાના સીઈઓ પીટર મેકવાયર જોડાઈ ગયા છે, સાથે મારા સહયોગી ઋષિન પણ છે. પણ પહેલા પીટરથી આપણે ચર્ચાને આગળ વધારીશું. ગુડ મોર્નિંગ પીટર, do you enjoying monsoon weather in Mumbai?
Well, absolutely, Mr. I think it's a lovely time of the year, and it's very refreshing.
Oh, actually, you're heading towards to Vienna for OPEC meeting.
Yes.
What is your analysis for this crude prices? Output will rise, or they will keep on their decision?
Well, I think what we've seen over the last month has been very interesting. It's been a very, very solid off sell. The market has corrected itself to the downside. It was probably overbought in a lot of ways. And when you're seeing what that price of WTI is, that $63 to $65 range, there's probably a little bit further downside. I think over the next couple of days we've seen a strong push up as far as US dollar over the last couple of months, nearly at 95 for that US dollar index. So there's a fractured interpretation from OPEC, I think, at the moment. You've got the Saudi camp and the Russians and others looking at increasing production, and then you've got Iran and Venezuela saying we should cap production and try and get a higher price. So I think it's going to be an interesting meeting and how it all plays up to Friday.
Okay, so do you think that the crude will take a pause at this point of time and it might be started upward journey, or do you think that it is more or less into the downturn journey that we will see going forward?
Well, I think, Rishan, you've got a couple of things. First off, there's the uncertainty as far as weather outages and what goes on from hurricane season, which can play into the market come July, August. So that's in the US.
Okay.
Then you've got what's happening as far as the OPEC situation. Where does the US dollar play? And what does President Trump do as far as tariffs? You've got Fed rate rises. So there's a lot of interesting moving parts at the moment. And I think that where the US dollar is and where the crude market is, it'll probably stabilise over the short term. You could see a little bit of a spike next week, dependent upon what comes out of OPEC. But it's been a very, very solid, profit taking and shorting of the market, and a lot of traders are extremely happy with what they've been able to achieve. So I think it'll probably oscillate and stay within a range bound.
So what is your range for crude right now?
I think you'd have to look at probably that 62 to 66 for WTI. I think for Brent you're probably, that 70 to 74, 75. So, I see the Goldman Sachs numbers and they're saying, $80 plus this summer, or Northern Hemisphere summer. It's a hard one to really forecast because, as I said, there's so many moving parts. You're not sure what President Trump's prepared to do. We're not sure as far as that US dollar. And I think that the present, it seems to be very much range bound. I think it'll stay at these sort of levels.
Okay. So yes, since you mentioned about the Donald Trump, do you think that he has started, or at least he has taken initiative to rewrite the global world economic order? Because since we are seeing that the trade war is going to be happen, tariffs he is talking a lot. So do you think that from the down the line around 20 or 30 years, we will see another economy is going to be equally in a brighter spot as the US and the China is right now?
Well, look, President Trump, and rightfully so, in a lot of ways he's correct in his judgment and what's going on as far as trade deficits and so on. He feels as though that there's been manipulation all the way through from the Chinese and their currency, of course. It's a hard one to, discuss because he's got a set mind of what he thinks is fair value and what he thinks is a realistic way to trade. And, when you've got a president prepared to stand tall on those particular discussion points, he's capable of doing anything. And that's been demonstrated. What he achieved last week with North Korea, he's a man of action. You've got to say that. I mean,
But whatever he's saying, he's implementing that decision. As we are seeing that all trade war is now possible thing. It's all there.
Absolutely.
But it is impacting all over the world.
Yes, it will.
So it will impact currency as well?
I think it will. I mean, you'd have to say what's going to happen with the US dollar. And if you're looking at those Fed rate rises, it's probably going to underpin it and push it even higher. As far as the rupee is concerned, you probably see a 70 handle. As far as US dollar index, probably 96, 97.
Exactly.
If you see 3 or 4 rate rises this year, we're in June already. People are saying you'll see 3 this year. So it's only one-way traffic, I think, for US dollar, for bond yields. And of course, what that also underpins as far as US dollar strength. And that's why I really have a mixed view where oil's going to trade. I think it'll be pretty much range bound because that US dollar is going to just increase in value over the short to medium term.
Okay, so just a word on the Peter on the yields. I mean, we have seen a sharp rise on the yields, and if you look at the spread between the 10-year and the 2-year, I mean, it is also, I mean, just narrowing like the 2008 that what we have seen, and the exposure of the US bonds with the foreigners, it is also at the record high. So, do you think that these are the actually the alarming alarms at which we should be taken care of, because this might be 2008, might be around
a rerun?
Yeah, we don't know.
Well, you've got to look at emerging markets and what's going on as far as their equity markets, pardon me, and, you know, withdrawals, and we've seen that with India, we've seen it in many of those particular Asian economies, are going to probably have a very, I think it's going to be a harder 2018 than what 17 and 16 were. Their equity markets are probably fully priced to some extent, and you'll probably see a flattening as, you know, and sideways trade. If those, this is where it gets back to President Trump. If he is so aggressive on these actions, it's certainly going to cause major concern for a lot of these exporting economies throughout Asia. And how that plays is going to be so fascinating. This is a new, I mean, you'll look at this in 3 or 4 years. I'll be studying this in business schools, saying, well, what impact did that have as far as trade wars? This is unheard of to happen in the 2010 to 2020 sort of time zone. And it's going to, I think it's going to be it's going to be very interesting how it plays out.
Exactly. So just wanted to understand one more thing. How are we looking at the India? I mean, we have seen a dream rally in the commodities from 2015 to till now. We are seeing a little bit sell-off in the emerging markets. So how are we looking at the commodities, and where the India is right now? What is the priority list in terms of the Asian countries, and where is the India is?
Well, when you look at the commodity side, you'd have to say the base metals have had pretty, you know, nice sort of run up, and now they seem to be flattening a little bit, and that's just the way the markets go. And probably that will be some of that price volatility may start to disappear from the market. You'll see a little bit of sideways movement, and that's why I think that will happen the same in oil. And reasoning for it is strengthening US dollar. As far as India is concerned, I saw something last night on peak from PricewaterhouseCoopers, and the second largest economy in the world by 2050 is going to be India. So US will be third. So you've got strong growth. You'll have some ups and downs over those 30-year period, but I'll tell you what, you've got huge, it's an economic miracle what's going on here. There's no doubt about it. I mean, from infrastructure to technology to healthcare, India is the place to be, and you've got that huge growth that's going to happen for, you know, 5.5 to 7.5% GDP growth, and Modi's saying you could get double numbers. So, you know, it's a very, very strong time, and the figures are on the board. It's going to be a wonderful 30-year play leading up to 2050 for India.
Okay, so on positive note, thank you so much, Peter. I think we will let you know to enjoy the Mumbai monsoon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. 2050 સુધી 2050 સુધીમાં જે છે તે
આ મોટી વાત કહી છે પીટરે.
હા, ઇન્ડિયા જે છે તે યુએસએ બી ટેક ઓવર કરશે, તો એમ 30 યર્સનો જે રન રહેતો જોવા મળશે. આઈ થિંક પીટરને આપણે ફરીવાર બોલાવીશું સ્ટુડિયોમાં, અને કાફી વખત આપણે પાછળનું એનાલિસિસ
ઇવન આપણે ઓસ્ટ્રેલિયા જઈને ત્યાંથી પણ લાઈવ કરી શકાય પીટર સાથે. મોન્સૂન એન્જોય કર્યા છે ત્યાં આપણે 12 માસ મોન્સૂન જોતા હોઈએ છે, ત્યાંનો વેધર કંઈક અલગ જ હોય છે.
એક્ઝેક્ટલી, અને ક્રિસમસ બી આવી રહ્યું છે અત્યારે, તો ખેર એની પર બી ધ્યાન રાખવું જોઈએ. બટ લેટ્સ જસ્ટ અમે એકવાર ક્વિકલી જશે